What is up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers. These are my Draftkings MMA picks for UFC Vegas 61. We have Mackenzie Dern going against Yan Xiaonan.
I need all the wins, yeah. Harder than all that is. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out.
And we are back talking some UFC Vegas 61. It is now a 12-fight card after we did lose the Jessica Penne Tabitha Ricci fight. So 12 fights to talk about. I think it's going to be a pretty good card. Maybe not the most name value in the world, but, always looking forward to a card on Saturday. One card on Saturday is better than no card on Saturday, no matter how it is. So looking forward to it. We do have a week off next week as well, so going to take advantage, sit back, enjoy the card. It should be a fun one, I think. I think there's a lot of fun matchups, and from a DraftKings perspective, I think it's going to be a good card as well. So before we get started and get into everything, if you guys can please leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you have not already. I'll be going live on Friday, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, and then once again on Saturday for best bets. So make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss out on all of that. But I say we get right into it. And as always, we'll start with the fight. Doesn't go to decision lines. Number one here, we have Randy Costa, Guido Canetti, minus 350. Fight doesn't go to decision. On some books, it's actually like minus 500. I see a minus 750 as well. I think it's safe to say that this fight is more often than not going to end inside the distance, and it's going to be a fight that you're going to absolutely want to target. You have Randy Costa. All of his wins come under one half of a round. So all of his wins in the first round. Every other fight that went over that half of a round, 2 minutes and 30 seconds, he actually lost the fight. He's 0-3 in fights that have went over half of a round. So I do like Randy Costa here to win. I think he's much younger, very explosive. Guido Canetti, 42-year-old bantamweight. But if this fight gets extended, I think it's going to get very interesting. So I think Canetti at 7,000 is a very good pump play. But I think the most likely scenario is Randy Costa knocks him out within the first couple minutes. So the majority of my exposure will be on the Costa side, sitting at 9,200. But I think Guido Canetti is a must play in terms of a pump play at 7,000. Because if he does win, I think it's inside the distance as well. Moving on, we have Sodiq Yusuff going against Don Shainis. We have minus 220. Fight doesn't go to decision. And yeah, Shainis is a finisher. I believe he's been finishing only one of his losses, but this is a massive step up in competition. He's not fought anybody anywhere near the caliber of Sodiq Yusuff, and that's probably why we see Sodiq Yusuff as a minus 1,100 favorite, although I don't really agree with that line. I do agree with Sodiq Yusuff going out there, winning this fight, and probably winning it inside the distance as well. I think there's going to be a huge discrepancy in skill on the feet, and I think Sodiq Yusuff probably knocks him out here. Shainis, he could have success. He's a solid wrestler, good grappler. Good ground and pound, good finisher, but just I don't see him coming in here on short notice against a much bigger Yusuff, taking him down, controlling him, finishing him. I think Yusuff stuffs the takedowns for the most part, and when it's on the feet, like I said, it's night and day. Should be Yusuff all day here, so I'm not going to play a ton, if any, Shainis, maybe a couple percentage of Shainis and 150 max, but most of my exposure in this fight will be on Sodiq Yusuff at 9,500, and I think he's pretty safe for cash. Obviously, he's minus 1,100. I think he goes out there and gets the win and scores pretty decent along the way. Next, we have Ilir Latifi going against Alexei Oleinik. Such a weird fight, but that is pretty much every single Oleinik fight is just a weird mess of a fight, and it's probably one you're going to have some exposure to. Ilir Latifi, 8,700. Oleinik, 7,500. My problem with this fight is I could see it playing out just a million different ways. It's a sketchy fight. I could see Latifi going out there and knocking out Oleinik in the first round. So I think Latifi at 8,700, he's definitely on play for that reason. I could see Latifi going for takedowns, and getting control time for that reason. I think is in play. I can see Oleinik going out there, even winning minutes on the feet, just because Latifi does literally nothing, whereas Oleinik, not the most technical striker in the world, actually probably one of the worst technical strikers in the heavyweight division. Very awkward style. He's still going to go out there. He's going to throw hard. He's going to throw with volume. And then I can also see Oleinik's submission, which I think that is Oleinik's most likely path to victory. But yeah, like I said, this is a fight that is a complete mess of a fight. I have no idea what's going to happen, but I kind of feel like it's important. So I do have more Alexei Oleinik just because of the price savings, 7,500, pretty cheap dog there. So we'll have more of Alexei Oleinik, but I will also have some Latifi at 8,700. Somebody probably does get finished in this fight. I think somebody probably gets finished in this fight as well. We have Jesse Ronson going against Joaquim Silva. And again, I think both sides are definitely on play here. You have Joaquim Silva, who I think has a significant grappling advantage. If he goes out there and grapples in this fight, I think he makes this look really easy. The problem with Silva is he just never does that ever in the UFC. I think he has one takedown in the UFC. His last submission win comes in 2014. So although he's going to have a massive ground advantage, it's just up to him if he can use it or not. If he uses it, I think he looks like a phenomenal play at 8,400, but I just can't trust him to do that. I trust Silva to go out there and stand and bang, though, and if he does, Jesse Ronson hits very hard, and Joaquim Silva, his chin is very, very questionable coming off of 2 knockout losses. So I am personally on the dog side here, and Jesse Ronson at 7,800, but like I said, if Joaquim Silva fights smart here, takes his fight down to the mat, I think it makes it look easy. So we'll see what happens, but this is a fight that I'm very high on, and one I'm going to have a lot of exposure to. All right, so getting into the core plays here, we got Mackenzie Dern sitting at 9,100 here. And yeah, I'm probably going to have a decent amount of Dern, especially since Tabitha Ricci is off now. I was going to have a lot of Tabitha Ricci with her takes on upside and all that. But yeah, Dern, I think she has a good chance to finish this fight. Her inside the distance line is around like minus 140, minus 150. Her submission line is like minus 110, minus 120. It's safe to say that if Mackenzie Dern does win this fight, and she's favored to pretty heavily, it's going to be inside the distance. So I like Dern for that submission upside, for that finish upside. One takedown, it's over. I know she doesn't have the best takedown accuracy in the world, but she has 25 minutes to get one, and once she does get that takedown, it's going to be over shortly after because Yan Xiaonan, her grounding game is just not good. So, yeah, I do like some Dern, 9,100. I guess my concern is if this fight does get extended into that 3rd, 4th, and 5th round, maybe Dern does not score that well because she's probably not going to be getting takedowns early on. She's probably not going to have a ton of success early on the feet, but I do expect this fight to end probably pretty early. I think, like I said, once this fight hits the mat, I do think Dern goes to work and gets it done shortly after. So I do like Dern, 9,100, and I won't be playing a ton of the other side here in this fight with Yan Xiaonan. All right, next we have Julio Stoliarenko, 8,200. Yeah, I think this is a pretty important fight to target here. I'm personally on the Julio Stoliarenko side, but it's a closely lined fight. It's about to pick him on the money line, and we have the closest line fight from a Draftkings perspective as well with Stoliarenko, 8,200. And Chelsea Chandler, 8,000. I actually think somebody's getting finished here. I know the fight doesn't go to decision, is plus 130 here, so it's not favored to end inside the distance, but just with the way Stoliarenko fights, I think there's a good chance it does. So on the feet, she blocks punches with her face. She blocks punches at a 44% striking defense there. Chandler hits hard. I went and watched her fights, and she was dropping fighters left and right, hits super hard, and I could see her hurting Julia Stoliarenko on the feet. And Chandler also has a submission game in her own right, so I could see Chandler getting a finish here, but I'm more so on the Stoliarenko finish side. She's like a 90% finish rate, finishing all but one of her wins by submission. I believe all those are arm bars as well, so if this fight hits the mat, I think Stoliarenko is very, very live for a submission. That's literally what she's good at. She's good at getting the submission, and this is another case of once this fight hits the mat, it could be over shortly after because Stoliarenko is that dangerous on the mat, although Chandler does have some grappling in her own right. I believe Chandler is a purple belt. Stoliarenko, I think she's a black belt, but yeah, Chandler's not a bad grappler. I just think Stoliarenko is super dangerous on the mat there. So I'm on the Stoliarenko side, 8,200, but we'll talk about Chelsea Chandler a little bit. I think this fight is one to definitely target. Maxime Grishin, 8,500. Kind of a sneaky one here. I don't see Maxime Grishin being overly popular, but I think it's a good matchup for him, and I think he has sneaky finish upside against Philippe Lins, who has been finished four times by knockout, and Grishin actually hits very hard. We saw him knock down Dustin Jacoby twice in that fight. He has some serious power, so I could see a couple scenarios here. I could see not a ton going on, but Grishin eventually finding that finish. I could see Philippe Lins going for takedowns early, maybe having success, but the problem with Philippe Lins, I just don't think he has the gas tank to wrestle for 15 minutes, and I kind of feel like is what he's going to try to do. So maybe Philippe Lins had success early, but I think it's going to be Grishin who's going to have the better gas tank. He's going to be the better striker, and I think he eventually does knock out Philippe Lins. So at 8,500, maybe not the most exciting fight in the world, but I actually think Grishin has some very sneaky upside, and I really do like him to win this fight. Randy Costa, 9,200. He's going to be my highest exposed fighter on the entire slate, and just because he's got to be. Just so much upside. Like all of his wins, all 6 of them, come under 2 minutes and 30 seconds. If he wins, this fight's probably going to end under 2 minutes and 30 seconds. 60-second bonus is on the table here as well. You have to have some Randy Costa. Do I want to lay minus 300 on him from a money line perspective? No, I don't. I can't trust this guy. If this fight does get extended, I have serious concerns, and that's why I'll also have some Guido Canetti as far as a pump plate goes, but you just can't ignore the upside here of Randy Costa at 9,200. If he wins, it's going to be in the first round more than likely. All right, GPP plays here, or tournament plays. Sadiq Youssef, 9,500. I think he's pretty safe here. I don't mind him in cash as well. But yeah, tournaments, I think he's fine as well because he has some solid upside. Just because he's going to be the much better striker by a mile, I don't even think it's close. He's going to be much bigger as well. He's fought the much better competition, and that's not even close. He's a minus 1,100 favorite. He's favored to go out there. He's favored to go out there and finish this fight. I think he's like minus 200 to win this fight inside the distance. So you can't ignore that. I know he's the most expensive fighter on the card, but for a very good reason, he has the easiest matchup on the entire card. So give me Sadiq Youssef here. Don't mind him at 9,500, although he is pretty expensive. Mike Davis, 8,600. Yeah, I actually like Davis here quite a bit from a DraftKings perspective, not so much from a betting perspective, but Davis, he's going to hopefully go out there and get takedowns. The path to victory is there. Slava Borshev, his takedown defense is horrendous. Some of the worst takedown defense you'll ever see. His get-up game's very good, but that's only going to lead to more takedowns from Mike Davis. And going and watching the career of Mike Davis, what he does a lot is go for takedowns. His wrestling's very good. So although I don't really see Davis holding down Borshev, at least initially, I see Borshev popping back up. That's only going to lead to more takedowns. So if Mike Davis does come in here with the game plan of getting this fight down to the mat, which he absolutely should come in there with that game plan, I could see 4, 5, 6 takedowns from Mike Davis, maybe more. It just comes down to the game plan of Mike Davis. If he wants to go out there and strike with Borshev, it's going to be a close fight. If he wants to go out there and wrestle Borshev, I think he makes it look pretty easy, and I think he puts up a very, very high score in 8,600. So it all comes down to the game plan or Davis. I'm hoping he fights smart. If he does, 8,600, I think it's going to be a great play there. Joaquin Silva, 8,400. And I think somebody gets finished here. Jesse Ronson, 36 years old. He did kind of look like crap in his last fight. Like I was saying earlier, if Silva can go out there and get this fight down to the mat, I think the fight will be over very, very shortly after. It's just, will he do it? Personally, I'm leaning towards no, he won't do it. And for that reason, I like Ronson. But yeah, Silva, the path to victory is there. Take this guy down, submit him. I mean, if Rafa Garcia is submitting you, I mean, there's a problem, right? Like, if Rafa Garcia is submitting you, what is Joaquin Silva going to do when he gets you down to the mat? So, I mean, if Silva grapples, he's going to win. He's going to put up a big score, but personally, I don't think he does so. But just in case he does, I will have some Silva. And on top of that, like on the feet, he's going to throw with a ton of power, so I think he's live for a knockout as well. But like I said, I think somebody's getting finished here. And again, a very good fight to target. Alir Latifi, 8,700. Not a fight I'm excited about targeting, but a fight that I think is probably important to target. Alexei Oleinik, 16 losses. He's been finished probably 15 or 14 times. I know he's been finished 9 times by knockout. He's been finished a couple times by submission as well. So yeah, Latifi could go out there and finish Oleinik in the first couple minutes. So for that reason, I do like Latifi. He has takedown upside as well. Mess of a fight, but like I said, these are the fights that kind of score well, no matter how ugly they are. So I have some Latifi, but I'm not too excited about it. Live dogs here, Jesse Ronson, 7,800. If Silva's going to stand and bang with Ronson's very live. Silva's chin is very questionable. He's been knocked out 3 times, twice in the UFC, twice in a row. At this point, Ronson can crack. He hits very hard. I think Ronson's super live for the KO in this fight. So I do like me some Jesse Ronson at that price tag. Alexei Oleinik super live in this fight. On the feet, I think Oleinik can be winning minutes here. I don't see him going out there and knocking out Latifi, nothing like that, but I think he could be more active on the feet. And on top of that, if this fight hits the mat, that's Oleinik's world. He wants to be on the mat. Maybe he can find a submission off his back. Maybe he can sweep, reverse, get on top of Latifi. If he does that, Latifi can be in some trouble. But yeah, I think Oleinik's live here, 45 years old or not. Latifi's not much younger, so I don't mind some Oleinik at this price tag. Daniel Santos, we haven't talked about this fight yet, 7,400. I think it's going to be a close fight. I do like Santos for cash. I like his chin, his durability, his toughness. I like his pressure, the way he comes forward. I think he can really pose some problems to John Castaneda, who we saw Eddie Wineland kind of pressure him in their fight. Eddie Wineland, I think he was 38 at something like that at the time, came forward. He was having success against Sean Castaneda just by coming forward. And I can kind of see Daniel Santos doing the same thing. All he does is come forward and pressure, throwing a ton of volume. And I think people are very low on him after his last performance against Julio Arce, but definitely a step down here against Sean Castaneda. And I think this line should just be closer. The salary should be closer, so I'll take some shots on Daniel Santos. And if this fight does finish, which I'm expecting it to go to decision, but if it finishes, I actually think it's going to be Santos getting the finish here. So I don't mind some Santos, 7,400, especially for cash, just because of the volume, the toughness, and I do think this goes 15 minutes. Chelsea Chandler, 8,000. I don't think Stoliarenko's that great of a fighter. I think she's good at one thing, and that one thing is the submission game, and that could be enough here. But yeah, Chelsea Chandler is going to have a ton of power. Just her power really impressed me. Stoliarenko eats punches with her face. So I think a Chandler knockout's definitely on the table here. I personally think Stoliarenko does catch her, but like I said, I think this fight is one to target, a fight that I do think is going to be decently high owned, especially on the Stoliarenko side. But yeah, Chandler, I don't see many people having Chandler, honestly. So I'll have some both sides here. I'm more so on the Stoliarenko side. But I'll definitely have some Chandler at 8,000 because of that power. Pump plays, Guido Canetti, 7,000. If he wins, it's probably going to be by knockout. Randy Costa has been knocked out in all 3 of his losses. Costa, every time the fight hits that second round, just has nothing left. And if Guido Canetti can survive 2 minutes and 30 seconds, 3-4 minutes, if this fight gets extended, Guido Canetti is going to be super live, 42 years old or not. So for that reason, I have to have some Guido Canetti. On top of that, it's kind of a hedge because I'm going to have a ton of Randy Costa, because how could you not with Randy Costa's upside? But I think Guido Canetti, if he can survive early on, he's going to be super live to win this fight. So Guido Canetti, 7,000. I think he's one of the best pump plays on the slate. And then also, Yan Xiaonan is a decent pump play as well. I'm not going to have a ton personally, but yeah, if she's able to stuff the takedowns, keep it on the feet, it's Yan all day. I just think this fight hits the mat at some point. But yeah, Yan's another pump play that kind of stuck out. And then faded's Krzysztof Jotko, 8,300. I kind of actually really like Jotko to win this fight, but I like it to win by decision. His finishing rate is like 27%. Only one finish in the UFC, which is concerning considering he's been in the UFC for, I think, like 8-9 years. I don't see much takedown upside, control time upside. Maybe he gets a takedown here or there. I can see that, but very low volume on the feet, kind of likes to slow down the fight, make it a boring fight. Just really don't see really much reason to play Krzysztof Jotko this week. So, fading Krzysztof Jotko at 8,300. All right, guys, that is about it. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to leave a like, subscribe. Check me out on Twitter, DFS_numbers, Instagram, DFS by the numbers. If you have any questions, you can hit me up there. Should be a fun card this week. We have some fun cards coming up. Make sure you guys check out the live stream Friday, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern time, and then Saturday for best bet as well. So that's about it. Best of luck. UFC Vegas 61. See you guys later.